Well, good day, everyone. Welcome to Alchemy Within from Out Amongst the Stars. And today we are here to talk about the new moon in Gemini, which is June 6th. And I have Gail Ward with me again, and we're going to talk a little bit about the energies around this new moon, a few different things. And then we're going to go through the 12 signs and the 12 houses, I should say. And Gail is going to share with us some oracle messages for each of the signs. So welcome, Gail.
Thank you. Lovely to be back again and continue this collaboration. I'm excited to hear about this new moon and what this means. So I'm going to pass back to you, and then I thought today I would just use the goddess cards that have been with me for quite a few years. So let's see what wants to come out, and see what
messages. Yeah, all this Gemini energy that we have. So I'm going to share the chart now, and we will have a look at what's coming up. So hopefully you can see that. So I set the chart for the new moon in Mountain Standard Time, and then I put Aries in the first house. I just made it so we're looking at the whole sign houses. So it's the tropical Western zodiac with the whole sign houses. So when we look at the house system later, when we're talking about each house for this new moon, it will be mostly for your rising sign, but you can also look at the energies of how it reflects for the sun and the moon. And the sun is lots to do with our other father figures or our personality, and the moon is more emotional based or connected with our mother figures. So if we look here, we see the sun and the moon at 16 degrees. That's the new moon. So that is for June 6th. And so that's for at like, I guess today, that's like 2 or 6:30 a.m. it'll be for that new moon in Mountain Standard Time. So for the UK, that puts us at, I guess it's 1 p.m. Is it, Gail, in the UK time?
Oh, is it 6 hours? Yeah.
Yeah, that's our time zone. We have to make sure
so,
we let people know what that is exactly. So we'll get into all of that. We will now I just want to talk a little bit about all this Gemini energy that we have. So yeah, just to confirm, that was 1:37 p.m. UK time that this is coming through on June 6th. And at 16 degrees and 18 minutes. Now, we also, as you see here, have Venus, we have Mercury, we have Jupiter, all in this sign of Gemini. So after our last full moon we chatted about, on the 23rd of May, we had our Venus move into Gemini. So that was a just bringing in that more flirtatious energy, I guess you would say, with that Venus in Gemini. And then there was the quite a lot of action and talk around the Jupiter moving into Gemini. Lots of people were doing a lot of different forecasts in YouTube on that. And Jupiter into Gemini is just such a completely different energy than it was in Taurus. And of course, Jupiter's just been so active, and it's been very prominent, I guess you would say, in the first half of the year. Right before Jupiter moved into Gemini, it actually, because we have Neptune, which is such a really significant thing sitting at 29 degrees, we had a sextile. So that's that 60-degree energy to Neptune, which can be very, imaginative and creative. So that was back in May, still on the 23rd of May, in and around our last full moon. And so, if we look at sort of that difference with, Jupiter moving into Gemini energy, it's less about how it was in Taurus with all the, solid sort of methodical and stable energy, and I know it kind of got rocked, of course, with it hitting Uranus. But it just brings in a lot more of the big picture of like communication and what's in the news and the media and all of the intellectual curiosity, because the Gemini is such an air sign. It's not the earth, stable, solid, secure kind of, more grounded energy. It's air, it's fluttering. There's all kinds of exchanging of information and, listening to different things. And we're just emphasized with a lot of the air qualities. It's very mutable. There's just a lot of curiosity, a lot of learning and ideas and information exchanges and connections, and people want to be a lot more social, and maybe you'll find yourself wanting to come up with a lot more optimistic and energetic ideas and bigger picture ideas and those kinds of things. So that whole shift of Jupiter into Gemini has probably been felt, especially on a mental or intellectual level. And we also then, leaving the end of May, we had some other aspects with Mars going over the eclipse point. So if there was certain at 19 degrees in Aries, so if there was like any kind of thing that happened that sort of was reflective of that eclipse back in our Aries season, and now we have Mars, it's just about to enter Taurus. It's sitting at that very end of Aries, and so when it shifts, it'll also bring up a whole bunch of different things in not that real fast initiating energy, that Aries pioneering energy that we maybe had. It maybe will bring in just that a little more push towards what we really want. But as we are connecting with all our Gemini energy, we first had, which is kind of interesting, because we have like the Jupiter in Gemini. First of all, when it first came in here, it's at 2 degrees, as you see, and it's trining Pluto. So we have this big Pluto movement, right, with the Aquarius, as it had dipped in, and then it's gone retrograde, and it will dip back into Capricorn in the fall here for a little bit, just to sort of really shift from that energy of the old Capricorn ways into our new sort of innovative, technological, maybe a little more rebellion, maybe more innovative, outside the box Aquarius ways that we're kind of going into with life. And Jupiter, with that trine there, was really expanding on that. And so that was just on June 2nd here when that really came about. And we'll maybe see more. That's kind of more of a longer term transit too, right? So they're both air signs as well. So if you had anything around this 2 degrees, or 1, 2, 3 degrees, like even at 0 degrees in any of these signs, you may have really noticed some of that energy, maybe some opportunities, maybe there was some big picture ideas that came through, or experiences, or knowledge, or you've had the sudden urge to take on a new area of study. And also with that Pluto there, there's a lot of power dynamic, and bringing in maybe this education is going to bring you more money even, right? Because it's anything that you're learning and growing towards can be very powerful. And of course, Pluto has to do with money, but in some way there might be connected to these houses some sort of transformation happening. And we have that initial sort of Pluto with Jupiter, but we also had Mercury jump into, and Mercury is moving really fast, but on June 4th, Mercury jump in here, and it also connected with Jupiter and was trining Pluto. So that really emphasizes, because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, it really emphasizes everything to do with, what we're looking at, for what we're questioning, what we're curious about, what we're looking at studying and learning, and new teachers or new lessons or new courses or new educational material or books that you're wanting to read, and kind of taking something that maybe has to do with our big broader picture, or what we're kind of transforming with that Pluto in Aquarius, and a new innovative way. And we're actually now ready to take some course of study or learning to really advance that and empower ourselves with Pluto and transform our lives in some way. And so if you're being called to some sort of a program, or any kind of even technologically advanced ways in order to help yourself learn and grow, and different ways of teaching and or intellectual I guess beneficial apps, or anything like that that might be coming about, that keep that in mind, because this is a great time for that. You can be just really deepening your understanding about something that you're learning about. And with the Gemini, it's sort of like taking all those little bits and pieces and parts of details, and you want to like fuse them together right into that Jupiter big picture, and allow a greater understanding and wisdom come about with it, with the different ideas and thoughts or questions or topics or conversation, and sort of taking that maybe a little more playful, flirtatious, fun, or bringing in a lot more people, like socializing and collaborations, and back and forth connecting. And Gemini also has to do with all of that. So now with this, with all that shift to it, like Pluto can be very strategic with it, in that we also had Venus go through the heart of the sun. So Venus was Cazimi on June 4th as well. So what that Cazimi means, and it came from the Latin translation of the Arabic term Cazimi, it means going through the heart. And it basically is when they have a conjunction and it goes right into the rays of the sun. And some people use a 17-minute orb, which is very small. And some people use a full degree. But either way, at this time of this new moon, we have Venus sitting in that same degree point. So it really brings in all of that Venus archetype as well into whatever it is that, is getting transformed. So, this Pluto, Jupiter, and the Mercury a couple of days ago, we're at earlier degrees. These are a little bit later. That's a little bit far of an orb for them to be together. They're kind of two different transits. However, with them being all in that same sign of Gemini, that just really brings it all in together. So now, as everyone may or may not know, there is what they call a Venus star point. So, and it works in like 4-year cycles, and it kind of forms a 5-pointed star, and it goes only to the same signs, and it stays in those same 5 signs and shifts every 4 years to those same 5 signs, like for many, many years. So we have had this Venus star point in and the part of it, that same part of that pentagram, in 2020 and 2016 and 2012. And you can just go back and look at these, exact dates. The next one, of course, will be June 1st, 2028. This one was June 4th, 2024, but June 3rd, 2020, June 6th, 2016. So you can go back and see on the topics of Venus where that had been, kind of shifted and changed, with all of those themes around love and relationships and beauty and our resources and what we value and what we're attracting, how we're receiving, that feminine archetype, and can have lots to do with beauty and aesthetics, and whether you're working on an art project that involves a lot of color, or getting new hair, or looking at new wardrobe, or it has to do with relationships and even sexual relationships, and that receiving energy, and all of the resources that we are bringing into our life and we find really pleasurable as well. So now getting into the new moon, like I said, was happening at 6:37 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's 8:37 Eastern and 1:37 p.m. UK time. And if we want to look at the bigger cycle of the moon always has a bigger cycle. We have that 6-month cycle where we have that full moon, and like we're starting this new moon in Gemini, we'll have the full moon in Sagittarius season when they're opposing, and there can be a culmination point of whatever it is we're starting now. New moons are about start, about beginnings, about the seeds of intention that we're planting right now in order for something to begin. And but there's a bigger moon cycle, and so you can kind of keep track if you want. Use your Gemini journal, track, write down kind of what's happening in your life pertaining to your Gemini house, and look at what it is you're beginning now. On March 6th, 2025, that's our first quarter moon in Gemini, and whatever you're coming into there's a lot of action, and you're bringing in that whatever's being started now more into reality. And there may be some tension there and some business to look after, but you're building towards something in your future. And then December 4th, 2025, we'll have the full moon. And just so you know, that first quarter moon was exactly 16 degrees on March 6, 2025. The full moon on December 4th, 2025, there'll be some ending or closure or culmination point. Not like whatever you're starting is completely over. It's just maybe the way that you're doing there might be some adjustment or acknowledgement or pivot needed there, because there's that tension of the opposition. And so there is something that also we have, and we'll look at this too, this new moon and the Saturn squaring it, whatever we're committing to, there's this responsibility or something that might be wanting us to be a lot more mature and do the work and be very disciplined about this as well. And then there'll be a last quarter square of this September 4th, 2026. I know that's a long way away, but it's that's at 11 degrees of Gemini, but it's kind of that final closure and completion and culmination point of whatever it is that we're starting to build right now, and how it is kind of, there's some part of it that, you know, it's like, okay, now I'm here, I'm, you know, I started this thing and now it's, you know, working for me and it's bringing in income, or, you know, whatever obstacles I had or overcome, or I've made the adjustments and things are moving the way that that they need to. And yeah, it's just really neat to look at the whole big story, because astrology is all about the patterns and the cycles and timing, um, and being able to sort of track all of that. And so anybody who has degrees around this, you know, 16 within a couple of few degree of orb in Gemini, or you're opposing Sagittarius, or one of the squares of Pisces or Virgo, around those 16-degree mark, you might be feeling it a little bit more. And you know, Gemini is very airy, so if you need to get grounded and put your, you know, feet in the grass, or Gemini is also to do with the lungs and the nervous system and the extremities. And so, you know, breathing, doing breath work while you're out, getting more grounded too, that definitely definitely can make a difference. So as mentioned, yeah, it has a lot to do with you know, bringing in that Venus and what we personally value and what we find valuable at this time, and bringing in new people or conversations or potentially love relationships and collaborations or organizations or ways of learning and studying and new teachers and that sort of thing. But also knowing that you will come up with something to do with this Saturn squaring it, which is at 18 degrees. And Saturn, I put on the outside the 9th, because that's when the sun is exactly square, and Venus will be square on the 7th. So there's definitely, and that's at around 19 degrees, they're squaring. It's definitely going to, you know, maybe bring in some tests or trials and tribulations and restriction, responsibility, or barriers or limitations. Or Saturn, it wants us to bring something into reality, and it wants us to be committed and responsible, and you know, really do the work and be disciplined with it. And at the same time, it's going to say, yeah, you want to go be Gemini and fun and playful and do the thing and back and forth and social, but maybe there's going to be some sort of with emotional responsibility, or something in the way, financial responsibility, or something in the way of doing all those fun, joyful, easy flowing Gemini things we want to do. It's going to keep our Gemini selves from wanting to, you know, be immature or irresponsible or a little reckless, or, you know, not taking in the whole big picture into the consideration with what it is that we want in the big larger picture. Because there's, as we talked about, like, things transforming, things are shifting. And you know, you may have had some major eclipse kind of situation, and you know, we had that here where right at the eclipse time it didn't happen, but all of a sudden there was just like boom, out of nowhere something changed that's going to, you know, affect life here, you know, for us. And that could have happened in some form or another for anybody. But it'll, you know, Gemini loves to be curious, so you got to stay curious and stay adaptable, and you know, and brings in that youthful, playful way, and go exploring and communicate with people and experimenting and all those kinds of things. You just can't be mischievous or yeah, like I said, reckless or immature about it. And you know, there is a lot. It's not doom and gloom, because there's so much benefic energy here with Jupiter and Venus in the mix with them. And so, you know, whatever it is coming into our mind, because, you know, Mercury being here and being the ruler, and our perceptions and our ideas and our beliefs and our ideology, spiritually or philosophically or morally, with that Jupiter conjunction, there is something that we maybe need to shift in our paradigm or have a bigger understanding about, that's being called to. So you know, we have to look at where it is that we're getting distracted by, and being responsible and committed to whatever, and disciplined to whatever it is that's showing us where we need to have that. So yeah, so there's our Gemini, like I said, ruled by Mercury, rules the lungs and the upper extremities, and it's all about, I think it's the mind. Its polarity is Sagittarius, so this is all the little details, and this is the big picture mind. And the Gemini high road sort of likes to be flirtatious and socialize and communicate, and is about writing and reading and collecting and disseminating information. And I actually really relate to that. Analyzing, looking at data, rationalizing things from an intellectual perspective. They like to be speedy and little bits here and there, right? It's a multitasker, and the one that's very skilled with the hands, and can be a jack of all trades, can be the one that's at the marketplace and sales and commerce, and doing involved in back and forth things, or even sports things with back and forth, or delivery, or long or short distance travel, and using media and technology and that sort of thing. And so we have a lot of concentration in that Gemini house, wherever your house is, which we're going to talk about here right shortly. So before we jump into our 12th house, and we're going to start with Gemini rising, Gail, do you have any reflection on all of that information of our new moon in Gemini?
Oh yes, Diana, thank you so much. That was quite thorough, and a lot happening in that Gemini. I mean, I always feel at this time of year it is opposite my Sagittarius, and I perhaps am not as fluid at this time of year, and with my Mercury in Scorpio, just listening to all that information, it's really helpful to be able to think, yes, I'm going to plot this, and I'm going to sort of see how it looks in the calendar. And the only one that I can really relate to in how I've been, when you said about the 5-pointed star, I did follow Venus for most of last year, so I was understanding Venus in my own, how that plays out for me, because Venus is in my first house, which really fits in with the holistic lifestyle that I follow. So Venus is very much about that Venusian, all that feminine energy and aromatherapy. This kind of, the training that I followed, it's very much about being out, looking out for your physical looks as well, isn't it? So
yeah, and the divine feminine, absolutely, and I could see why it would be so difficult. That's so much concentration, like 5 planets in Gemini in opposition to you yourself, what brings you energy, what feeds your vital force energy, and that would be really challenging. I'm thinking for sure to have that oppose all that energy, opposing your big Jupiterian presence and self and perspective, and it's all these fluttery little details that are going on in the background opposing all that. That would be challenging for sure.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. I'll pass it back to you for the oversights of the rising sign, and then we'll
jump into
whiz through them. Yeah.
Okay. So the Gemini rising will have this new moon and all this concentrated energy in their first house. So the house of self and selfhood, selfness. It's not about being selfish. It's your self, full-bodied self, and your spiritual and physical body, as well as your emotional and psychological health, and your physical appearance as well, and how you show up in the world. It really is the house more concentrated around you. So what did the oracle have to tell the Gemini rising
Yeah, well, there's a card already jumped out for Gemini rising. I can't quite work out the connection with it, but I'm using the Goddess deck by Doreen Virtue, and Osteria has jumped out. So she is the goddess in charge of spring, but the message is fertility. So, you know, it's spring, nearly summertime here in the Northern Hemisphere. Her message is very much about it's the perfect time, you know, for you to start new projects. I don't know if the first house is all about you, like you say, but so this is very much, you know, a time for new conditions. I don't know if that's relevant, how that works in terms of the first house position. And
It's perfect. It's the perfect. Yeah, because it's the new moon in your first house. New moon is totally new projects, new beginnings, new seeds planted of intention for you. And so what are you, you know, growing, and what are you nurturing? Like, where is the, you know, you have that fertility of something new starting for you. Yeah. And if you have it in the fifth house, you might want to watch if you're planning or not planning to get pregnant too. Right? Fertility
yeah,
there. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, so
perfect.
that's
Oh gosh,
perfect.
yeah, I
Uh,
love it how they come out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so for their Taurus rising, our Taurus rising, it'll be in, we'll have this Gemini new moon would be in the second house. And so that's all connected to, you know, our own values and self-worth and our assets and resources, like everything, you know, it has lots to do with our, it's a money house, or material possessions, what we own. And sometimes even what you use to, you know, I guess strengthen yourself, or like, you know, food, and what we want to bring into our own life for personal value, and and different sources of income and asset skills, or you know, things around our own self-worth, so, and self-esteem. So yeah, what did the oracle want to tell us for the Taurus rising?
So it's interesting. I've got Matt, M-A-A-T, and the message is fairness, and that's interesting. That's linked with that house. Talking about this situation will be handled in a fair and just manner. And I always think of this, just, you know, justice, fairness, like almost like the weighing scales.
The Libra, which is
The
also
Libra.
Venusian. Yeah, that's also Venusian ruled. Yeah.
Ah, yes, it is, isn't
Taurus
it?
and Libra are both ruled by Venus. Yeah.
So, yeah, now whether that resonates for the Taurus people, or that's, yeah, for
That's
this
the
to
one
be,
we got.
yeah.
Okay, so for our Aries rising, it'll be in our third house, and so that's our local environment, and, you know, people that are in our close proximity, such as siblings or aunts or uncles or neighbors or neighborhood, and you know, things to do with you know, short distance travel, or vehicles, or, you know, sort of, or anything that's sort of connected in and around us and our environment.
Mm.
Also to do
Oh,
with communication, sorry, in the mind, and sometimes, you know, social media things as well. So what are Aries rising looking at for the oracle?
it's so interesting. I have got green Tara here. And if you know this deck, Diana, this is the start delegating message. So perfect if you are, you know, wanting to set up a team with your social media, with your, you know, with your business. It's asking others, you know, for help, and delegating, needing your help, and really about try not to do everything yourself. You know, she's sitting on her beautiful lily, and yeah, start delegating, you know, that cooperation in a way, isn't it?
Collaboration, community,
Collaboration.
connecting,
Yeah.
yeah, with your local environment, or whether that local environment or that community be online or right, you know, within your area, or, you know, people you connect with culturally even. So yeah, that sounds great. And so we're going to move on now to our Pisces rising. So our Pisces rising will have the Gemini new moon in the fourth house. That's 4 signs away. And the fourth house is our home, family, roots, foundation, our property, anything to do with, you know, parents or ancestral roots. And so a place where we go retreat at home. So yeah, the goddess card for our Pisces rising.
Okay, so the Freya card has arrived with the word bold.
Mm.
So being bold, and this is about unleashing your adventurous side and, you know, taking risks and be daring. So is that very linked with
Well, I'm
starting
thinking about in the fourth house. You know, does that have something to do with how, you know, where it is that you want to feel at home, and how you want to feel at home, right? And maybe it has to do with your where you are, you want to change your home or your home environment, and
Yeah.
you know, take a bold different action with that, or in the role in your family, you know, potentially. So yeah,
There's
so
a
many
there's a
strikes.
cat on this one as well. I'm not sure where pets are pets in the fifth house normally in
The sixth, typically
the
small
sixth house.
pets are typically the
Yeah,
sixth.
this
Yeah.
is, you know, this looks like a strong a
But
strong cat
you know, with
energy.
that Pisces, that's connecting with spirit as well, right? That's the oneness, and it's very emotional and watery emotion as well. And so this might be something to do with um, you know, just taking a more bold approach with where you are at emotionally, and um, within your, you know, your sort of family dynamic, and you know, making sure that you're looking after your own emotions too. It's just kind of what's coming to me, because we're in a lot of change and flux right now. So whatever is the Gemini is bringing in with all of that, um, you know, different ideas and learning and different paradigms, maybe there's uh, a lot of boldness you have to take around that within your family. Maybe people in your family have seen you differently, you know, and you haven't really expressed all of yourself, right? So
Mhm.
potentially could be something to do with that. So the next one is our Aquarius rising. We'll have this new moon in their 5th house.
Oh gosh, my favorite. This is Aphrodite that wants to make her presence known for Aquarius rising, and she's all about the inner goddess and awaken the, you know, that goddess within. And I always see this as the dancing one. This is very much about, you know, your freedom to be yourself. So yeah, don't know how that relates to Aquarius, but yeah, you could
Oh,
probably.
in the 5th house, that's so perfect, because it's about fun and play and joy and enjoying yourself and doing all those things that you find pleasurable. It also, I mean, it can be that house of fertility, and you know, bringing in your child sort of like self, which is connected to the Gemini as well. So
Mm.
it is that's the whole archetype of Gemini, is that fun, playful, you know, out there dancing, socializing, networking.
Yeah. And appreciating your divinity, that was the bottom line of that one. So yeah, wow.
Okay, Capricorn rising, 6th house.
Let's see what wants to come out for Capricorn rising. Okay, Ishalt has arrived for you, Capricorn. So undying love. And this is the love that you have shared you know, is well, it's eternal, regardless of the situation. So yeah, undying love. Wow, it's beautiful.
Okay, well that sixth house, of course, is to do with our work environment, our daily routines,
Mm,
our
yeah,
health, our pets, and sort of that place of like service or being of service, and that place of being of servitude. So that and our routines, like our daily routines. So that tells me of doing that with love, right?
mm,
Like, and self-love for health as well. Yeah, I think
yeah.
that that makes total sense. Our Sagittarius rising is the seventh house themes, which is our relationship house. So just as the Gemini is the first house, this is the opposing house of other, and our, you know, marriage partners or contractual agreements or potentially things that have to do with the other in any sort of a relational way. So
Okay.
whatever the Sagittarius rising, and can be sun or moon too, but is for the seventh house.
Wow. Well, this one has come out, which is fabulous. Butterfly Maiden, the transformation um, energy card here. And this is very much about you are experiencing enormous changes right now. And yeah, it brings time of blossoming. So this is, yeah, change. I don't know. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know that you know, you know, your family members around you are going through massive transformation as Sagittarius in your family.
yeah. Opposing all that Gemini energy and yeah, having this a Sagittarius rising daughter, she's in a huge transformation and it was completely unexpected, right? And of course, we have that Pluto trine in there, and as well as this conjunction with the Venus. Um, and so the, you know, there's some sort of new, probably partnership and agreement, you know, relationship um, that is coming in that is helping empower and transform um, a lot of our Sagittarius risings, and with that opposing energy of the Gemini. So all these, the bigger picture is getting activated here. So I think that makes sense for those with that seventh house Sagittarius rising, and our Scorpio rising eighth house is all to do with our debts, taxes, mortgages, soul contract agreements. It's, you know, can be a money house, can be um, a sex house, and also all those soul contracts of other people's money. So it can have lots to do with um, investments as well as loans, or, you know, insurances or different financial contractual things that come into our lives to help us, you know, our spouse's money, that kind of thing. So what do
Mm.
our Scorpio risings have?
Yeah. Nematona has jumped out for Scorpio risings. Nematonia talks about sacred space and creating an altar, and you know, as a power place and to connect to the divinity. So, you know, it almost feels like, yeah, you could bring a lot into that one, couldn't you, with the Scorpios?
Oh yeah.
Sacred, you know, it's honoring the sacred, I guess, in your life. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. And finding that place of your altar and ways to attract more, you know, money and um, things that bring you, you know, more power for your soul contract, and, you know, going in deep into those places, and, you know, potentially if you're trying to get bring in all the little details and attract with that, all that Gemini energy, all the things that you need in order to, the the data, the details, in order to get things like a new mortgage, or joint finances, or a partnership or collaboration going here, or you're going to change your um, business up, and allowing yourself sort of that sacred space to sort of let things come in how they need to, might be really really helpful to kind of get the downloads, to kind of get the informational tidbits that need to come through, right? To bring all something new there. So now we'll move on to the ninth house of Libra rising. And that ninth house is connected to our higher beliefs and morals and philosophies and guiding principles in life. And so this could be, potentially to do with spirituality and religion, or political dogmas or doctrines, or our guiding morals and ethics, higher learning and higher education, different cultural. It also has to do with long distance travel. So what do our Libra risings have coming up?
This is so interesting. This is Isis, and that message is about past lives. So that's kind of interesting with the philosophy and the religion and the spirituality. And that message is talking about the situation involves the past life situation. So, if you're into exploring those, yeah, I don't know how relevant that is, but interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that could definitely be that people are looking into, kind of traveling into those different philosophies and paradigms and places that they may have even experienced in past lives, right? Or different philosophies of the wisdom that we do innately have within us, and from our experiences from that we've carried forward from that past. Like maybe we haven't been looking or following that paradigm. Maybe we've just been in this, place of just our physical reality. So, and maybe it's time to get more connected to the soul path, right? Potentially.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
that was the ninth house for our Libra risings. And now we'll go into the 10th house for our Virgo risings. And the 10th house, of course, is all about our legacy, career, public reputation, our professional life, and how we engage out in the community, even if we aren't in a job or workspace, and our higher authorities in our life, and different goals and achievement, but our professional house as well.
Mm. Well, that's interesting. Ishtar with the word boundaries. So that's kind of, yeah, interesting. The message is love yourself enough to say no to others' demands on your time and energy. So yeah, very much about structuring yourself, isn't it, in the workplace, and
Yeah.
whatever that energy, and yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're putting out in and giving out for to our place of work, and we have that Saturn square there, is what are we committed, and what are we working towards, and where are we being disciplined, and maybe you are giving so much to a certain profession or workplace, and looking at now where there's some boundaries or borders that are saying you have to also look out for yourself, and looking at what you want, and what your mind is being stimulated to go towards now with this new moon in Gemini. Your different thoughts or different perceptions, or the ideas that you maybe have had for business or that sort of thing. So yeah, very good. And so our Leo risings have the 11th house of our groups, allies, social networks, friends, and different clubs and organizations, or hopes, wishes, dreams, and that of the future, and how we're connecting, and community, and even can be connected to our social media world, and partnerships that way. So yeah, Leo risings, 11th house.
I have Mother Mary on this one. Expect a miracle. So
How hopes, wishes, and dreams come true.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And have faith that your prayers have been answered.
Wow.
So that's
Wow.
incredible.
I would love to hear from some Leo risings, if how that has come about for them, coming, following into this cycle of this new moon, especially in the next 6 months or so. And so the 12th house, Cancer rising, or 12th house, of course, is the house, the hidden house, the house that where we sometimes have some unconscious parts of us, parts of us that are not revealed or that have been masked, and the shadow parts of us, or the places we go to reconnect, and the ashrams, or retreats, or that sort of thing. It's can be very connected to that spiritual part of us, or the wounded part of us, or the part that ends up in the hospital or in a jail cell, or it's kind of a interesting house to dive into, because there's all these parts that we come in with that are unconscious, and then we have these mirrors and relationships that bring it to our awareness. So how is that showing up then for our Cancer risings with the new moon?
That's interesting.
12th? Yeah.
Sorry, that's aim, leap of faith. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? With yeah, take a risk and put your heart's true desire into action. So
right.
yeah,
So maybe
this
this
is about
digging into the wounds, or the unconscious part where you haven't, where you've buried those parts in the basement of who you really want to be, and you haven't been following your heart's desire.
so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That is so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I guess that wraps up all our 12th houses, and thank you so much, Gail, for all the messages. It's interesting how it connects. You're like, I don't know how that connects, and then it's like, oh no, there's a message here. And I mean, we'd love to connect with the people who have these rising signs, to see how, if even if you leave it in the comments, or um, want to find us and connect with us personally to see how this is showing up in your chart. Gail can be found at Unity, through Unity Consciousness. And do you want to share any more details, what you got happening right now, Gail?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Relax and Shine, and that also links up with Facebook as well. And I'm curious because I've been doing quite a lot of fairs, recent fairs, and met some new clients. And so sharing this work with you, I'm curious because there's a lot of people that are interested in astrology, and for you, you have a lot of wisdom. I'm just wondering if, identifying that chart is something that their chart would be something that you would be interested in doing, or, how you work. You like to do a lot with the planets and how they position, and particularly as an empowerment coach, I know that's how I started to work with you and how we collaborated. So that, there's a lot here to link in. I feel like we, to get it simple, to keep it simple, isn't it? So maybe you could put something in with how you like to help people too, because I'm doing one-to-ones with people. Yeah, I really enjoyed just going through the oracle again and collaborating for today's new moon. So I'm excited to, to watch what the comments are and see how these messages resonate. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
inviting me again.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. I really enjoy, because I am a Gemini, I really enjoy the collaboration and the back and forth, and the one-on-ones. I would love to help anybody who wants to look at their chart from a more, intimate perspective. I have a bit.ly link I usually put in the, well, I do put in the comments below, and people can just send their information through there, and it comes directly through my email, and we can definitely look at people's one-on-one charts for sure as well. This is just to give a general overview and for us to have a chance to collaborate, and hopefully everybody got some sort of value out of what we had to share for each of your rising signs, as well as the general overview. And we will be back to do more for sure, because Gail and I both like doing this. It helps us both bring our work to the world, and makes it way more fun, because I'm a Gemini and I like to have fun, so, and share the information, all the tidbits, and I go and culminate things and then bring it to you best I can. So thank you for being here, Gail.
Yeah, thank you. You're amazing. I take my hat off to you and your production today. Thank you again.
You bet. Until next time. And connect with us on YouTube or Instagram and Facebook. Okay, bye for now, everyone.
Bye-bye.